The legwork's important. And even if you have, the tech, we said, well, most people won't have that. Even if you have it, you've still got to say, these are the accounts we care about. So you've still got to go through that process of which ones matter and so on. You've still got to think about, well, which roles and personas are important, and then have some way or some tech service of identifying those people, and then have a way of reaching them, which, we've had GDPR over here in Europe, which means increasingly, unless someone's opted in to receive your stuff, you can't email them. You can't, so the whole kind of marketing automation systems that rely on email, really tricky now. So social media, LinkedIn, all those sort of channels become more important. And also finding people when they're searching on third-party websites like information sites and so on. So there's tech to help you, but if you haven't got that tech, it's legwork.
Yeah. And so, okay, so we have now decided on the company. We've done our stakeholder research. We now have an understanding about the landscape, right? Like just for that particular account/market, right? Then the account-based engagement, account-based marketing starts, right? What does it look like? Like, how does it now start to be executed? Like, what does the strategy look like? And what does execution look like?
Yeah. Well, again, thinking about one-to-one. So let's start there first. If you've got an account manager who's a real sales bod, so they just like doing the big sales and then passing off the actual delivery of it to someone else, they'll probably have an idea of what are the big things we're going to be going after next. So your plan might start by just checking that that's sensible, doing some sense checking around their plan, and then building a marketing plan to support them. If you've got somebody that is an account director who's more service delivery mentality, so not good at spotting the big opportunities, then the first thing you're going to do is work with them to say, we think these are big opportunities, basically. Let's sense check that, which ones should we be going after. And we tend to think of them as plays. So we think, okay, these are the imperatives and the initiatives that are going on in either an account or a cluster. What plays could we make? So think of that in terms of a solution. Is it this product, this service, this solution, this combination of stuff? That's what we want to take in. And you might have 2 or 3 of those. It might not be just one simple one. So then I think the first thing you have to think about is, how do we want to be positioned? What's our messaging? So we see some people, let's go back to that HSBC example. Some people will create a visual identity that is a blend of HSBCs and their own, for example. And they'll create some messaging that sort of plays on HSBC's messaging at a brand level and their own. So they might create something visually that reflects how they want to be positioned over the next 2 or 3 years in that account. Even if they don't do that, what they've got to do is some messaging. So, what's the overall proposition of your company into HSBC? What do you want to be famous for? And then beneath that, these individual plays you've identified, these solutions you want to take in and sell, how do they link to that message, that hero message? And then you're building value propositions as well. So let's say I want to sell cybersecurity into HSBC. All right, who you're selling it to, what do they care about, what are the benefits of your solution, and how are you different? You really need to think about that and put that into a value prop. And you'll probably tweak the value prop for each individual person. Now, that's what salespeople have always done. They've always taken the marketing generic product messaging or whatever and tweaked it a bit. And we've got really annoyed with them because they've been messing with our PowerPoints and stuff. But it makes sense. If you're going in to talk to a particular person, you're going to try and speak in their language and hit their hot buttons. And that's what you need to then do. So the next thing is really about messaging once you've decided what you want to achieve. And then we get to the bit that all the marketers go, yeah, thank God I know how to do this. It's what combination of activities? Are you going to run a webinar? Are you going to do a piece of research? Are you sending out some direct marketing to someone? Are you doing a social media campaign? What things are you going to combine to help your sales and account teams go in and sell those solutions?
So just on that point, yeah, that's great. From a marketing perspective now, like that third part, that last part that we all know, like in quotations, right? Because the amount of people that like are within the audience is so small, it's smaller than the custom audiences which you can target on social media advertising, right? Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of people would think, I can just target these companies because of the size of company and position and all that. But actually, the audience size is too small to run any advertising through social networks like directly, right? And so the examples which you gave are more engaging with them individually. Yeah, like you're contacting them, you're like inviting them on to the webinar, and you're taking them, or like you're offering them as research reports, but it's like through the social connection. It's not through social advertising. Is that right to say?
No,
or wrong to say?
It's a combination. Yeah. So you might want some surround sound. So there's a lovely example of a professional service firm that was trying to sell a particular solution. I think it was to a large oil and gas company. And they sent their team in and they got a meeting for this person. They positioned this person as the expert in something. And as soon as they left the building, the client went on LinkedIn and looked at the person's profile. And there was nothing to do with the issue they're supposed to be, known for. And also, as they're on social media sort of trawling, they're getting ads from other people related to that keyword, which is, the solution they were going to buy. So I think you need that surround sound piece as well. And we've seen people do pretty successful online campaigns where they know, they have the IP address of the person they're trying to target, or they've managed to get details because they had some gated content or whatever it is. So they recognize you when you're going to partner websites or their own website, and they serve up information that may encourage you then to come on and register for a webinar or ask to meet an expert or whatever. So I think there is definitely a role for the social and digital advertising, even if you're targeting 6 people, if you can identify them.
But then, because you can't actually just advertise, I think, and this is on LinkedIn, right, which is where I think is the best data that everyone can access, right? I think the minimum audience size like 100, maybe 200 people. So you can't get 6. Yeah. But then, should I run campaigns targeting that company and all the senior people in that company, or within like an audience size, so that they're getting to know my brand? Like I saw some examples of account-based marketing, again, like in inverted commas, because I'm not quite sure how good it was, but where one company got a billboard outside of the building of another company and said, hey, say for example, Coca-Cola, it's web profits, and we want to do business with you, or something like that, right? So everyone would have been talking about it, right? Is that kind of that surround sound thing that you're talking about?
It is, exactly. And actually, when there are specific deals and opportunities coming up, let's say you're the outsider and you're trying to break in, and people are kind of, well, I've never heard of this company. I've seen, and we've done it at Fujitsu as well, where we've literally understood somebody's journey to work. And there was one story, I think it was in Germany, where the journey to the office, when we all traveled to offices, there were loads and loads of billboards bought just along that journey for that key decision maker, because it made sense. And suddenly the decision maker saying, Mike, these people are everywhere,
It's like retargeting.
They're just on that journey to work.
3.0.
You can be really creative. The one thing I would say about the decision makers is, what we have, if you imagine a dartboard, I don't know if that translates, but hopefully it will. And you've got the bullseye in the middle, and then you've got a circle, and then you've got the outer sort of ring.
Yes.
What we think about is, the bullseyes are the people who will make the decision or authorize the decision. And you absolutely have to be building relationships with them. But there will be some significant influencers around them. And they could be, members of their staff. They could be their peers in different companies that they, phone up and say, have you ever heard of this company, this supplier? They could be other consultants, they could be third-party advisors advising on the deal or whatever. So you need to know who they are, and you need, as a marketer, you're getting into these audiences now, and what messages you need to send to different audiences. But then the outer ring, that's stuff like, people that listen to your podcast. Someone might be influenced by your podcast, or bloggers, or, So you need to be thinking about, how do I, if it's important enough, certainly at a one-to-one, what's my strategy for influencing and communicating each of those 3 rings of influence, if you like. So that's where something like a LinkedIn campaign might make sense. But what I've seen people do, if they have the technology, so things like demand base, or you can literally recognize someone coming to your website and show them more appropriate images. You can even recognize them as coming from Coca-Cola or HSBC and show them the messaging that you want to.
And that's personalization now, isn't it? That's that personalization thing that this is all about, isn't it? This is all about being personal, but this is a way to kind of just to use tech to kind of help with that customization process, right? Like if you know that someone has come from HSBC, they're on the site, you've made sure that the site can kind of adapt its messaging depending on the account that's on the site. Yeah.
And you could just do something simple, like if they're coming from HSBC, you have kind of banking relevant images and you tailor the content a little bit. If you're also targeting Toyota, they might come to the site, and you've got automotive kind of industries and you're tailoring the content a bit. They might both be buying cybersecurity, but you're showing them relevant contextual images, and you've got that personalized bit, even if it's just personalized to the company. So we've seen a lot of people doing things like that, and that can, that's one tactic in your campaign. But you might also be sending these people something. There was a lovely example from KPMG. They were trying to break into an account and reposition themselves as experts in compliance in North America, and they sent virtual reality headsets introducing their team who were the experts on compliance, and there was an app that went with it, and they updated the content every week, and I think it went to about 70 people across this target account, and they managed to get the meetings that they wanted and open up the account, and it was a really successful campaign. So being creative about how you reach, whether it's 6, 10, 12, 70 people across an enterprise is what it's all about, I think.